Welcome to the first edition of your weekly news from the Socialist Monarchy of Sweden. I'm your host Daniel, and during this broadcast I will give you the latest happenings from Swedish society, truly the epitome of progress in this world. What follows here are news that took place between the 19th and 27th of this month, in chronological order. The Swedish security Säpo has struck deals enabling it to eavesdrop on the internet traffic of Swedish citizens not suspected of a crime. Under Swedish law, internet providers are required to store traffic data of all users for 6 months in case it becomes necessary evidence in a criminal investigation. Yet now the security service wants to legally extend this surveillance to include even law-abiding citizens. Sweden has a long history of the state monitoring its citizens, so this is nothing new. The only thing new about it is that it will now be legal. The old Swedish children's books Barna Hedenhös have come under attack lately from cultural journalists because of its supposedly primitive representation of American Indians, along with the traditional gender roles present in the books. Now publisher Bonnier has withdrawn the section where they discover America and meet the Indians. A regional head of the Left Party's youth organization, Young Left, has been exposed as a sympathizer of violent left-wing extremists. In an interview with Swedish TV, he states that he feels declaring your public sympathies for violent revolutionaries is no worse than declaring your sympathy for the police. The Swedish church is now to be LGBT certified. After a vote in Kyrkomötet, the church's national convocation, the bill passed with 153 votes in favor and 76 against. This joins other church activities like a rainbow fair, as well as gay posters and so-called art inside actual churches. On the 5th of November, Sweden Democrat chairman Jimmie Åkesson was attacked with a cake by a 60-year-old left-wing extremist when he was signing his newly released book. The woman, Irene Matkovich, was briefly detained following the incident but got plenty of media interviews during the days that followed, and even made a small music video where she declared her hate toward nationalists. In the video, where she brandished another cake referencing the attack, she stated that Jimmie Åkesson was a Nazi. After background research was done on her by alternative media, they found that she had a long criminal record consisting of plenty of theft charges and drug pushing, stretching over several decades, with years of incarceration all in all. On the 20th of November, Irene was set up to do another interview, where the interviewers Nordisk Ungdom had other plans in mind. They asked her about the incident, whether she felt it was right to do what she did, and when she stated that she felt that she was snuck up on from behind and had a cake planted in her face as well. Irene subsequently reported the attack to the police. On the 13th of November, Iranian immigrant Ehsan Fadakar posted a column on Swedish tabloid Aftonbladet where he furiously attacked Norwegians and accused Norway of being a selfish and backward country. He also questioned whether Norwegian culture had any actual value. Many people reported him to the police over this, since Swedes who make derogatory comments about minority groups are regularly imprisoned for them. Yet the Chancellor of Justice declared after only a week that there would be no prosecution, that his defamatory statements were a reasonable part of public debate. Yet if you say the same things he did as a Swede about minority groups, different standards apply and you're incarcerated instead. The language used in Swedish debate is really not respectful at all, and Death threats are commonly expressed from left-wing pundits without much reaction. Commenting on the eavesdropping by the state on law-abiding citizens, homosexual activist Alexander Bard posted this on Twitter about Minister of Justice Beatrice Ask. I'm not respecting Beatrice Ask's human rights because she doesn't respect mine. May the bitch die slowly, painfully. In another tweet, he also states that the Minister of Justice is a fascist whore. A week ago, the social services in Helsingborg enlisted the aid of riot police when they wanted to remove the child of a working 30-year-old single mother, in order to neutralize the threat posed by her allegedly carrying a knife. They threw in flashbangs before entering, and then seized the child. The woman's legal counsel declares that there were no legal grounds for removing the child. This child joins the nearly 30,000 children that reside in Swedish social care, and hardly any country in the world has as large a portion of children in care as Sweden does. In Sweden, active attempts to deprogram gender are very common. Children who attend public daycare are generally taught not to act as their biological gender, but try out the opposite one for size instead. Boys are taught to play with dolls, and girls to play with trains. This has now caused an outrage in France after attempts have been made by Toys R Us to market toys to the opposite gender than the one they're meant for. The French are calling for a boycott of the toy company and are accusing Sweden of having inspired the idea. African immigrant Dudu Ahoka admits guilt in having killed a 15-year-old boy and a 57-year-old woman in Ljungsbro earlier this month. His attorney in the prosecution against him is former Minister of Justice Social Democrat Thomas Bodström. He is expected to be sentenced to psychiatric care, which typically has offenders released after only a few years. Some convicted murderers sentenced to care are released after only 1 year. The Swedish Migration Board announced that it's in need of hiring another 550 employees to handle the increased load of asylum applications. Almost 2,000 new asylum applications are made every week, and the handlers often have to work around the clock on long shifts to handle all the cases. As a portion of its population, no country in the world receives as many asylum seekers as Sweden does, and the number is hardly even matched in absolute terms either, even though Sweden is a small country. Immigrant ghetto Södertälje, to a large extent populated by Assyrians with their origins in Iraq and other Middle Eastern countries, is yet again at the absolute bottom of a list measuring the popularity of cities. Södertälje is the worst performing municipality in Sweden in pretty much all areas: education, crime, and so on, and this trend never seems to end. The chief of Swedish police has decided to relocate the police academy to Södertörn College in Flemingsberg. This college is mainly known for its feminist and gender theory studies, and the academic work done here is generally rated among the worst in all the country. Obviously, the chief hates the force he's in charge of. A 34-year-old Somali immigrant stands accused of having raped a woman who was dying from a drug overdose and continued to do so after she was clinically dead. When the police arrived on the scene, he was still penetrating her anally, something the officers had to put an end to. When they checked her pulse, they found that she was dead. That's hardly the only rape committed by African immigrants. But hate speech legislation here prohibits me from putting this particular incident in a greater context. A Swedish rapper who earlier this year declared on Twitter that he wanted to torture and kill Sweden Democrat chairman Jimmie Åkesson is now praised in mass media for his social commentary in connection to his new album, whose lyrics consist of left-wing agitation from start to finish. He also made a duet with another rapper named Timbuktu, where they talked about their urges to subject Sweden Democrats to physical violence and even killing them. Timbuktu has now been cleared to perform at the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony on the 11th of December. Links to all these stories are in the video description below. Over and out.